Good morning. And for those online, good morning as well. My name is Bill Bryan, and I'm a great consistory elder here at New Hope Church. Pastor Sarah and Pastor Chris are away today at a church conference. If you're a visitor, I'd like to invite you to come back next week. They're both terrific. So before I get started, I'd like to see how old everyone is. Raise your hand if you've ever heard Paul Harvey on the radio. Look at some of the young folks. Their hands aren't up. Yes. Do you remember what his tagline was? Not the good day. Remember he'd say that? Do you remember the other tagline? And now you know the rest of the story. I bring that up this morning because if you're online today and if you're part of my family story that I'm about to share, I beg you, please stay on until I say, and now you know the rest of the story. Please. Here at New Hope Church, we've been doing small group study called Practicing the Way. We're learning how to be more like Jesus. And about 2 weeks ago, we were on the subject of pain. And what we found out in those sessions was that the way we should deal with pain or to be more like Jesus is to do what he did on the night that he was betrayed in the Garden of Gethsemane. He got down on his knees and he prayed. And from Luke, we find out that he says, "If it is possible, may this cup be taken from me, yet not as I will, but as you will." Today's Bible verse is also how we are to live like Jesus. It is from Colossians 3, verses 12 to 13. And hopefully, if we can have it up on the screen, you can follow along with me. Aha, good. So, as God's chosen ones, holy and beloved, clothe yourselves with compassion, kindness, humility, meekness, and patience. Bear with one another, and if anyone has a complaint against another, forgive each other, just as the Lord has forgiven you, so you also must forgive. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Here at New Hope Church, I normally lead small groups. And in those small groups, I frequently ask what I call the magic man question. Here's one I particularly like. If you could give a gift to anyone of your choosing, including yourself, what gift would you give and to whom? Only limited by your imagination. For many years, the answer for that question for me was a daughter for my middle daughter Emily. A baby for my middle daughter Emily, sorry. For a very long time, for 10 years, they had tried to have a baby. They tried countless doctor visits, countless procedures, and countless ups and downs. And after that period of time, they finally decided we're going to adopt. And they had a wonderful adoption agency. And again, ups and downs, near misses, ups and downs, for almost 2 years. And then, on the morning of November 28th, 2023, 5 days after Thanksgiving, my daughter told one of her closest friends that her and Sam had had enough. They were removing themselves from the adoption agency webpage. And then, late that evening, they received a call from the adoption agency. And they said, "There's a couple that would like to meet with you." 2 days later, Emily calls Melinda and I, my wife, and calls us. She says, "Mom and Dad, I'm not telling anybody else. I can't go through it again where we have good news and then we have to tell people the bad news. So we're only telling you." But last night, we met with a couple. They're both college cross-country runners for their college team. And the young woman, she had been having stomach issues and couldn't figure out what was wrong. So on the day that I told my friend, the morning of, that she was that I was getting off the adoption page, this woman was having an ultrasound. And during the ultrasound, she was told, "You're 36 weeks pregnant." Hard to believe, right? It's called a cryptic pregnancy. But that's not the story today. So, 5 days later, on Tuesday, the young woman goes in for her first OBGYN appointment. The doctor tells her, "You're not 36 weeks pregnant. You're 38. 38. Yes. Not only that, I'm taking the baby in 3 days. 10 days from the time the young woman found out she was pregnant until she's ready to go to the delivery room. Yeah. So, the young woman, she wanted Sam and Emily to be there at the hospital on the day of delivery so that as soon as the baby was born, the baby could be held and bonded by her parents. So she made those arrangements. She didn't want the baby to be alone in the hospital. So on Friday morning, day of delivery, the expectant mother and expectant father go into delivery. The expectant biological grandparents, both sets, 4 of them, they all meet Emily and Sam at the hospital early in the morning. 18 hours later, early Saturday morning, a beautiful 7-pound baby boy was born. 7 pounds. At around 10 a.m. from that same hospital room that they had the baby, Emily and Sam arranged a FaceTime call with her sisters, Melinda and me. And I'm hoping that we can have it on the screen. If not, well, we had a FaceTime call, and much to their surprise, they discover they have a new baby, Jake, sorry. So baby Jake is introduced to our family, Jake Jameson. Beautiful baby. That right there that you see on the screen was one of the happiest moments of my life. Terrific. In the afternoon, the biological mother came into the room, said goodbye to Jake, and left with her family home. Emily and Sam took the baby home on Sunday. The adoption agency was confident that everything was in order. The papers that are required by Ohio law would be signed on Tuesday, and Emily and Sam could take the baby to its first pediatrician appointment on Thursday. Everything was in order. At least so we thought so. Tuesday came around, the day of expected signing. Melinda and I are in Lima. We're celebrating Melinda's mom's 96th birthday. Emily calls. She says, the expectant, or the biological grandfather's attorney has asked the social worker if they would consider guardianship. Guardianship in this case would have been Emily and Sam would take care of the baby for 2 years. And at any time during that 2-year period, the biological family could take the baby back. Emily was crushed. She was crushed. She said, Mom, will you come here as quick as you can? I can't look at this baby anymore. Later in the afternoon, Emily texted her sisters that it read, I am living my dream, but I'm in my worst nightmare. To think that 3 days earlier was one of the happiest moments of my family's life. And at that moment, it was one of the saddest. I had a consistory meeting that night. So I went to the consistory meeting and I expressed to the elders, I said, please pray for my family. I'm angry. I was angry. I was confused. I went home that night. Melinda was staying with Emily for 2 nights. And I went home that night alone, and I sat in the kitchen, and I got angrier. What I wanted to do is I wanted to go to Emily's house, get baby Jake, take it to the biological family, and say, here, you want this baby? You take care of it. That's what I wanted to do. And then, around 11 o'clock at night, sitting there, I thought, I have Bible study homework tomorrow. For all the men that are in the men's Bible study, it doesn't leave you, okay? So here we were, men's Bible study homework. I didn't want to do it, but I decided, okay, I'm going to do it. And guess what it was? Colossians 3:12-13, which is what we just read. Okay? I'm supposed to have compassion, kindness, humility. I'm supposed to be patient. I'm supposed to forgive. I thought, oh my gosh, God, are you talking to me? I wondered. 2 days later was the first pediatrician appointment. Emily and Sam had no legal rights to this baby, so they couldn't go to the pediatrician appointment without the biological parents. The biological parents were happy to go. They were terrific, but they wanted to visit Emily and Sam's house before the doctor's appointment. We were quite nervous. At any time, the biological family could take the baby. At any time. So we were very, very nervous. They came, they had a nice lunch, they went to the doctor's appointment. All went well. As they were saying their goodbyes, the biological mother said, hey, the plan is to sign the papers next Wednesday. We felt good, a little optimistic there. Sam texted the young lady and said, thank you for coming today. Thank you for setting the date for next Wednesday. A little while later, she texted back, well, I haven't quite worked that out with my parents yet. I'll have to get back with you. The waiting was tough. It was tough. I don't know about you, but if you had a time in your life where you wake up in the morning and for the first 5 or 10 seconds you think, a new day, and then it hits you, it's still out there. It's still there, right? The waiting. Then, the social worker tells us that the biological family has said that it's been a busy Christmas season. We're not sure when we're going to get there to sign the papers. Right? The waiting. And then we get word, they set a date. December 28th, 1 p.m., a Thursday. Good news. Okay. And then we find out the biological father's family and the biological family, our father wanted to visit Emily and Sam's house on Friday, December 22nd. Again, not knowing, are they coming to visit baby Jake or are they coming to take baby Jake away? The visit went well. Again, we had reason for optimism. But the waiting. Then we discover, or told, that the biological mother and her family would like to come and visit baby Jake on December 28th, the day of signing. Okay. And every day we would fall more and more in love with this little baby boy, Jake. I remember as clear as can be, as any thought that's ever etched in my mind, standing back there about 3 rows from the back. Christine, our choir director, was standing right here, and she was directing the congregation in a beautiful Christmas song. And I remember thinking, I wonder if the biological family is in their church at this very moment singing these same exact songs about the birth of a beautiful baby boy named Jesus who was born in a far different time and a far different place. I just wondered. December 28th came around. The biological mother and biological family came and visited Emily and Sam. They went to the adoption agency and they signed the papers. We finally celebrated Christmas. It was a happy time. It's been a wonderful time in our family. Baby Jake, he brings so much happiness to my daughter and to my son-in-law and to the rest of our family. But I have to say, there was a period of time I was still a little angry. I was still a little angry about the delays and the uncertainty and the 19 days that my daughter and my son-in-law went through that process at the holiday season. And then I had a rare opportunity. July 13th of this year, an opportunity we would seldom get, which is I was able to hear the other side of the story. The biological grandparents on the father's side did the same thing that I'm doing right now. They're up in front of their church giving their side of the story of what happened. On November 28th, Tuesday, after Thanksgiving, the biological grandmother receives a call from her son. He says, "Mom, I got some news. My girlfriend's pregnant." Oh, doggone. All right, we can work this out. Not good. He says, "Mom, she's 36 weeks pregnant." What? That is not possible. We just spent Thanksgiving with her. We knew she was having stomach issues. We knew that 3 or 4 weeks ago she had a colonoscopy. How can she be pregnant? Right? He says, "Mom, we have an appointment in 30 minutes with the adoption agency. I want to go with you." "No, Mom, you can't go. Whatever you do, don't sign anything." 7 days later from that time, the young woman finds out she's not 36, she's 38. 10 days from the time she discovers that her son is about to be a father. He's going to be a father. So they're scrambling. They are scrambling. It is the first grandchild for both sets of grandparents. They don't know what to do. They hire a lawyer. They talk with the mother's parents. They look at options. They think, "Oh, we just can't, it doesn't make any sense for any of us to keep this baby." They think, well, maybe Emily and Sam would consider guardianship so that we have time. We need time. The other thing that haunts them is, who is this couple, Sam and Emily? I mean, our kids, on perhaps the most stressful day of their life when they discovered they're going to be parents, they make this decision to pick this couple. Who are they? Who is this couple? Now, Sam and Emily say, "Oh, we want open adoption, where the biological family can stay involved." But are they just saying that so we sign off our rights to our grandson? Who are they? You know what? They've been on the adoption webpage for well over a year and a half, almost 2 years, and no one's picked them. No one's picked them at all. What's wrong with them? What are we not seeing? You know what? They sound too good to be true. They're too good to be true. At one point, the biological grandmother in her Sunday message said, in the heat of the moment, Sam said, "It's okay. If your kids want to raise baby Jake, we will give you all the gifts that we have been given by family and friends, and they can raise baby Jake. It's okay. And she goes on to say, would I be like that? Now, I don't know. I personally believe that it was perhaps at that moment where Sam, who's seen his wife suffer through this, he's suffering through this, where he says, I will give you all the gifts. Might have been the turning point. It might have been the moment they finally trusted Sam and Emily. And to think, I want to take the baby, take it to their house, say, here, you want to take care of it? I didn't follow Colossians. I wasn't kind, I wasn't humble, I wasn't patient. I was the complete opposite. And that idea was a horrible, horrible thought. Horrible. My son-in-law, because of his faith and his obedience to God, he did those things. And it was because of that, that I think it turned out good for everyone. The message that the biological family gave, the theme of their message was Romans 8:28. Goes like this, and we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him. They see the good now. We see the good now. Sam and Emily have a wonderful relationship with the biological families, both. And the biological families feel the same way in return, and we're grateful for that. Very grateful. And now you know the rest of the story. You know, when you put something like this together, you have time to think about it. And I've decided that I've changed my Magic Man answer. And I realized that my answer was wrong all along. The gift that I would give someone would be for someone who does not have faith in Jesus Christ. Faith in Jesus Christ. When you think about it, there is no better answer. None. I learned 3 things from this experience. What I learned was, first, pray. When you're in pain, do what Jesus did in the Garden of Gethsemane. Pray. He's right there beside you in the pain. Express to him what Jesus did as well. I'm in pain. Express to God what you want to have happen. He wanted the cup taken from him. But recognize in the end it is God's will to be done and not ours. Second, live it. Live Colossians 12:13 in chapter 3. Be compassionate, be kind, be humble, be patient. Now look, I can't do these things, but I got to tell you, at least I think about it and I try. I try. The third thing I learned was forgive. I had the luxury of hearing the other side of the story. And sometimes it's hard to believe in this crazy polarized world that we sometimes live in, that there really is another side of the story. And maybe because it's all so complicated and there's so much information and so much to know, that maybe that's why God says forgive. It's not like if you go to the Bible, there won't be a set of rules there that says, hey, if this, and this are right, then forgive. If this, and this happens, then forgive. There's no rules. God just says, forgive. Just forgive. Pray, live it, forgive. And lastly, the last thing I thought about was if I was to ask God how he would answer the Magic Man question, what would you give and to whom? I think God would say, I've already given you my gift. All of you. I've given you my Son so that you may have a right relationship with me for eternity. All you have to do, all I have to do, what we have to do is accept it. That's it. Now that, and baby Jake, who I think is in the cry room, and his mom and dad, Emily and Sam, are gifts worth having. Thank you.